In the UK, roughly 1 in 100 people are diagnosed with psychosis each year. I was one of them in 2022. I had a psychotic episode. In this documentary, I'm going to explore what happened, how my family were feeling at the time, and how I've gotten better since my diagnosis. I'm also hoping to break the stigma of psychosis. This is Living Through Psychosis.
So psychosis is a mental health condition which essentially someone who is experiencing it is brought away from reality or what we know of reality. So it can include things like hallucinations, so seeing things that aren't there, hearing voices that aren't there or that people can't hear, and also delusions, so believing things that other people might not necessarily believe in or agree with you. So it's a real kind of sense of being taken away from reality, and it can be a really kind of scary thing to go through because people don't often realise that it's happening to them.
I knew something was wrong. I had tried to go to my local mental health team only to be put on a waiting list. I didn't know it was going to be psychosis, and neither did my family. We had no preconceptions.
I didn't really have any preconceptions because I never experienced psychosis with anyone within my family before.
So before Aidan had a psychosis episode, I didn't really give it a thought of what it was.
I felt that people were coming to get me, like I was somehow in danger. Everything I was watching and listening to was somehow referring back to me. I believed things that weren't true. I spoke to myself constantly.
It's because it was the unknown for myself, the unknown for Aidan.
It was scary. I saw my brother change in a different way with his behaviour and his eating habits. He was getting angry all the time. I saw him leaving the house late at night, going for long walks.
That he was talking to himself of an evening, and I saw him getting very angry and distressed quickly. My thoughts were fear, like, will he get better? Will there be an end to this? You know, will I be able to cope with, like, if he is diagnosed with something?
I was just worried, hoping he will be okay and he will get through it.
I was ultimately sectioned. I went into hospital for 6 weeks.
I received a phone call from a police officer saying they have found you outside the Tesco's. And I was relieved because I asked if he was dead or alive. When he said he's fine, but he's just saying some unusual things.
I was feeling petrified because I had no idea where he was going. For the first 24 hours, I didn't even know what borough he was in.
I was worried, scared for him, but happy that he was getting the right help.
So psychosis can be treated in a number of ways, but in the NHS we usually work with medications. So there's antipsychotic medications that we give our patients. We also do things like talking therapies, so psychology-based therapies. Often that can be individually or in groups. And then we also just have things like general support, so that might be around employment, housing, family support, carer support. It's a real kind of hold of the patient to make sure that their recovery is treated in the best way possible and we can get the quickest recovery for them.
I was finally discharged from hospital.
I was excited for him. I wanted him home, but I was worried that he might relapse and go back.
How would he cope with his diagnosis, because he had to come to terms with his own diagnosis as well?
I could tell he was nervous, but he wouldn't tell us he was nervous. And I think he was scared what the outside world would be like.
When he was having his psychosis, he walked around where we live and was shouting at people, so I think he was more worried in case he bumped into those sort of people.
In the media, most portrayals of psychotic episodes are negative. And while some people do commit crime, most people can and do recover, and people can have successful lives after having an episode. Why should the bad examples weigh out the good? I asked the specialists to see what they think.
So the stigma associated with psychosis is a really negative one, unfortunately. I think, especially in the news and things, psychosis and schizophrenia, which is a more chronic form of psychosis, can be talked really negatively about. They're often kind of stigmatised in a way that treats people like they are going to be aggressive or violent. It makes it quite a scary mental health disorder to talk about. And that can also really affect the people that are going through it. They can feel very stigmatised, and they don't want to interact with society because of that. So yeah, it's really quite negative, and it's so important that education is kind of built upon to change this stigma. I think talking about it, being aware of our own biases, of our own stereotypes, and really just, projects like this that Aidan's doing, speaking about it openly, and really just making sure that we've got a all-round approach when it comes to learning about mental health conditions and being open-minded about that.
I feel I have accomplished much on my road to recovery.
I'm very happy with the way Aidan's progressed, because at one point I thought Aidan wouldn't be here anymore. So I'm happy that he's got the help that he needed and that he's on the right road to recovery.
I'm so happy the way Aidan has progressed. He's like a different person. He's more positive now, looking forward to do things now, when before he wasn't.
I hope here I've done something to change the way you view psychosis. If we are ever going to truly change stereotypes and break the stigma, we must have more conversations like these ones.